mention, the current process for our planning and zoning boards require a public notification to anyone living within 100 feet of the project property for the zoning board and 300 feet for the planning board. So currently we have a template letter that's in our application packet that we distribute to the applicant. We provide them with the address list, which there have been some issues in terms of having up-to-date, accurate data. And then we're trusting that the applicant then sends out these notifications to the neighbors on the list. And then we require the applicant to come back to Town Hall within a 10-day period prior to the meeting, and they have to submit an affidavit that basically they attest that they did the mailings. And it requires a notary, so we do have a notary at Town Hall. We did revamp all of our application forms earlier this year to try and streamline them, make them a little more understandable and not as overwhelming, especially for the average resident that isn't exposed to this sort of thing on a regular basis. And what we found with the letters is, a lot of times cases get tabled or need to be rescheduled for a variety of reasons, and it's causing applicants to have to remail several times for the same project. And then the residents that are receiving these letters get confused in terms of dates and times of when the meetings are actually going to be held. So there's been some internal conversations with some of the board members and town staff to take a look at moving away from these letters and mailings and going to a posted sign system. So we did a little investigating, got some quotes, and the proposal for consideration and discussion would be essentially eliminating the mailing notifications and going directly to this post and sign system. And we would propose that we would buy approximately 25 of these signs to cover both planning and zoning boards. And they're just generic, they basically state this property is under review by the town of Webster. It would have a phone number and our web address. We've made a concerted effort to really put a lot of this information out on the website so that, especially due to COVID and the fact that we're not inviting people to the public meetings for in-person attendance, we want to provide the opportunity for them to review the plans online. They can read the project description, look at renderings, things of that nature. So we would propose to put the link, the web address on the sign as well, so that basically anybody passing by that has an interest in that particular proposal or project would have an opportunity to know about it, because not everybody is getting these mailings currently. And if it's something they're interested in, they can either give us a call to ask some questions and learn more about the project, or visit the website and review the material for themselves.
Have I seen these in other towns?
Yes.
Village of Webster.
Yeah, other towns.
Other towns,
That is a typical
yeah,
thing.
Webster did this. This is what Webster did. I think I still have my sign from my application 25 years ago, but but that's what we did here. When I was on the zoning board, that's what we did.
Okay.
We posted signs, either tacked them up onto the property or on a post.
Why did you get away from it?
I don't know. It was changed sometime. I think we concluded, based on the law, on our code, that it was changed in 1996, I believe, mid-1996. I have an old code book, and I looked in there to see what was set forth regarding notice, and there was nothing. I mean, other than that it would be published with 5 days' notice in the paper, and that was in the official paper. And that's what's required by law, not 5 days' notice, but publication. That's all that's required, that you give public notice. There's nothing it says about mailing, there's nothing it says about posting.
You probably have to do that as well as
you still have to publish in the paper. Right. We publish the agenda anyway, so that's not a problem. It's usually part of the agenda. Josh, as far as the cost goes, right now, it's on the applicant to send these letters out. Is the cost of the sign going to be deferred, not deferred, is it going to be put on to the applicant?
Well, that's a possibility. We would initially purchase the signs, 25 of them, like I said, and the thought was that when the project goes to the board and is approved or denied, they then return the sign to us and it's reused for the next set of applications.
Would they be the ones posting the signs?
So there is a vendor that specifically, that's what they do, is that they post the sign and then they pick it up 2 weeks later, after the public hearing has occurred. And that service does cost $19.95. So we would propose probably just increasing our planning board or zoning board fee by $20 to cover that additional expense.
Okay. And then we would have a vendor do it,
Correct, they handle it, they go and put the post in
and then take it down.
and then take it down. It's much like your standard real estate for sale sign.
Okay.
And
I know that the ones in the village of Webster are, I think Will puts those up? Yeah. But they're the size of, like, the political signs, they're the same type as the political signs, and you can get those signs made for like $6-7. So yeah,
Those type of signs you're talking about
Yeah.
they'll wear away from weather. These don't, right, Josh?
right, these are
aluminum.
Yeah, these.
well,
I have an
that's why I'm
example.
asking the question, because they're,
It's got one right there.
Yeah, they're like this. They hang with a post, and this is just an example from the town of Victor.
Yeah.
They're pretty heavy duty. They're UV protectant, weather resistant, and they would be lasting quite a while, and we would be reusing them. But there would be an initial expense, obviously, to purchase the signs. We did get about 4 quotes from different sign companies. I think they're included in your packets that were provided to you. Depending on the level of sign and the gauge of the metal, ranged anywhere from, I believe, $700 up to $1,800, depending on which company.
So that minimally, the applicant is spending $150 on postage, is that correct? If they gotta send out 300 letters?
Well, they don't typically have to send out that many letters, but yes, they are
300 feet, sorry.
Yes. They're
Because
covering the
there's 300
cost.
letters, but
Yeah, they're
however many
covering the
people-
cost of the initial mailing, and again, like I said, a lot of times they have to mail multiple times if things get rescheduled or tabled.
And that cost is in addition to their application anyway.
Correct.
Yeah.
You know that's underpayment. Is that pretty much the information that's needed?
He
For
said
the
he
most
had a
part,
website.
We do have a sign shop.
oh. That's an opportunity.
well, there you go.
Make the signs right down.
How we can make those signs.
How much are you gonna charge us, Joe?
Well, he's gotta cover his retirement.
I like it.
I like the idea, if the town can do it at no cost, that's great, but.
Well, it's not gonna be no cost.
I understand that, but the ones I've seen in different towns, obviously I haven't seen Victor's, they're all the same size as your political signs, and they're extremely inexpensive. I've had
They're paper, cardboard.
well, no, they're not, they're plastic, right? And printed. I just being the cheap guy that I am, I just have a problem with the cost of, $40.
If this is a sign that we're going to use and can be reused, we have blanks and we have all sorts of the retroreflective,
Right.
MUTCD code signs, we can easily produce them.
Well,
I think it was a great idea versus sending the letters out repeatedly.
and that's, I guess from a
Much more efficient.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
pros and cons of the letter schematic that is our current code, Charlie, versus this proposal we're talking about to scrap the letter schematic
make the signs ourselves, someone from the DPW would have to install.
No.
So he's got a vendor. No, the vendor's not gonna do it if we're not purchasing a sign from him.
We weren't gonna.
No, it's a different
The
vendor.
vendor, all it does is put them in and take them out.
There's two vendors, one that makes the
We just give
signs.
them the sign, and then okay.
They take care of the rest.
Right.
And can, print an article on the website saying this is what we're gonna be doing in the future.
I don't have any problem with signs.
I have a question for Charlie, though. Because our current code says that we have to send the letters out, do we have to modify
Well, I
that?
think the code, I don't have the code right in front of me, I think it says the applicant is charged with doing it, I
Okay.
think. So,
Yeah, it'd have to be-
do we have to modify it? Strictly speaking, no, we can just not enforce it. I mean, that's one way of dealing with it. But, if you want to, there's nothing, this is not putting any onus on anybody else. It's just saying, I mean, we're going to be doing it, so
Right.
there's really no need even to put it in the code unless you want to.
That's
my take.
What I've heard in my brief time at this, that people come in to the public hearing and say, I live within 300 feet of there and I never got the letter. And they say, but you're here.
Right.
So you found out some way. If the letter is not the law of the land anymore, and it's just the sign or two signs, depending upon how large the lot, it would seem as if there'd be less people that could come into the ZBA or into the planning board and have a plausible complaint about not knowing about it.
No, I think the signs are a great idea. To your point, Tom, neighbors on either side, they drive by, see the sign, they're like, well, maybe I want to call that number and find out what's going on over there. Right?
Code book.
Although we do appreciate the oxymoronic aspect of somebody coming into a meeting saying, I didn't see the sign, or I didn't get the letter, but you're here.
Yeah.
Well, they could have seen it posted out
How did that
there.
We're not gonna win in all situations, are we?
No, we never do.
No? Okay.
It says the applicant shall be responsible for notifying by first-class mail all property owners of record within blah, blah, blah of the outside limit. So it puts it on the applicant.
Okay, great.
So again, it's for us to enforce it.
We might want to change it.
Yeah,
You definitely should.
leaving it there and just not enforcing it seems like that's an invitation.
Go back to where it was, like I say, the old code had nothing in there about us doing what we did, which was.
Leaving the code the way it is and just not enforcing it, but it seems like a problem waiting to happen down the line. Leaving ourselves.
Well, what you do is you just revise the code. You revise the code along with the other ones that you're gonna be revising.
That I agree with.
It goes on
We're doing it globally, which is.
You do a bundle and you revise it at that time.
Yeah, and to Patty's point, for anybody watching, this is the type of code, the way you articulated earlier when Joe said about asbestos pipe, that I think the public gets nervous when we talk about changing codes. This is it's a common sense.
It's a housekeeping.
It's a housekeeping item,
There
that's
you
the
go,
best
Barry.
way to explain it, yep. Well, do we,
Thanks for working on this,
what
Josh.
do you think?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Great.
Myself.
And now we have a new vendor, manufacturer. The vendor to hang up the signs bill is that's not you. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
So, once again, can everybody on the board happy if we continue on with this and have him work within?
Yes.
And then obviously we'll talk with Barry and